A chance encounter sparks a fiery romance between a devoted single mom.
She was searching for someone to make her happy.
And her dashing neighbor.
Everywhere she went, he was there.
But just when their passion reached a crescendo, an act of unspeakable evil shatters their lives forever.
I seen the blood on the walls of her bed.
She was stabbed, and they cut her throat.
The crime sparks an investigation that will uncover a twisted tale of love, deceit, and revenge, and leaves police and family wondering, was this the work of a cold-blooded stranger, or has danger been lurking in broad daylight?
I was like, oh, no, no, no. I couldn't believe it.
I felt suckered by my own intuition. I was so wrong.
It was a hunt. We were looking for you. You better hope they get you before we get you.
December 7th, 2010, 8:40 p.m. It's a chilly evening in the nation's capital, but as the last Beltway commuters make their way home, police receive a frantic 911 call. On the line is a young woman named Kiana Barnes.
Yeah, my mom's lying here, and she's not responding.
I was like, it's blood everywhere. Y'all need to come.
Officers are dispatched to the Barnes apartment building in Southwest D.C. Meanwhile, the operator prods young Kiana for more information.
The dispatcher told her to pull the covers back and see whether or not her mother was still breathing.
I pulled the covers back. And that's when I seen she was stabbed over 10 times, her throat was sliced. I felt myself panicking, like losing breath. They kept telling me to calm down. It's a police officer en route.
Minutes later, first responders arrive on the scene.
She's in.
Is she this way? Can you show us where she's at?
A tearful Kiana quickly leads them into the bedroom. On the bed, they find the lifeless body of 41-year-old Tawana Barnes Copeland.
She had defensive wounds that would indicate that she was putting up her hands, trying to fight whoever was attacking her.
There were things thrown all over the room. There was a mantelpiece and things were knocked off of the mantel. Clearly, there was a horrible fight.
While responding officers escort Tawana's daughter away from the bloody scene in the bedroom, detectives arrive and begin the grim task of notifying the rest of Tawana's family. Before long, a stunned group of mourners has gathered outside her apartment building.
When that phone call went out, over 30 people showed up. So I was numb.
They had said that she was dead, but I couldn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it.
No one can fathom who would want to harm Tawana. She was a single mom, grandmother, and universally beloved by all.
She was there for me. Everything I spoke to her about, everything I came to her about.
All the children, my daughter, everybody loved Tawana.
Tawana Barnes Copeland was born in Washington, D.C. in 1969. One of 8 children, Tawana grew up in a tight-knit, God-fearing family.
She was raised to basically, if you wanted something, you have to go out and get it.
From a young age, Tawana wanted one thing above all else.
When it came to Tawana and her dating life, she was looking for love.
Sweet and vivacious, Tawana had no trouble attracting attention from the opposite sex. At 18, she gave birth to her daughter, India, followed a few years later by Kiana. While the relationships with the children's 2 fathers ultimately fizzled, Tawana poured her heart and soul into her family and was determined to provide for them.
Children were the world to her. She kept them straight in line, but she loved all of them.
She started working in Halifax Community Hospital as a cook, and she went from working as a cook to becoming a phlebotomist.
Tawana had single-handedly fought her way up the ladder to build a great career and family. Still, at age 41, Tawana felt something was missing from her life.
She was searching for someone to make her happy. Love without a boundary, but when it comes to the opposite sex.
Tawana wanted a man who could match her drive and youthful energy.
Tawana didn't want no old man. No grandpa. She had a young spirit. She was fun.
She had that pretty smile, a smile to like, come get me smile.
A dream that seemed to come true one day in 2010 when a young neighbor came to her rescue.
I'll tighten this last one and you should be good to go.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome, no big deal.
I don't know what I would have done without you.
Hey, I'm always helping people out, so. I'm Sean, by the way.
Tawana.
She was like, I want you to meet my friend. His name's Sean.
Oh, you know you owe me, you know what I mean? Can I get your number?
As sweet-natured as he was good-looking, 36-year-old Sean Davis worked in the restaurant business in D.C. And like Tawana, he came from a big family.
He had like a young, down-to-earth type style. You know, he had his hair braided. He looked decent, like he had something for himself.
All right.
All right.
Have a good day.
You too.
It only took a couple of dates for Tawana and Sean to become inseparable.
The chemistry between my mom and Sean was like, they was two young teenagers. Like, they was clothes everywhere she went, he was there.
Fueled by their desire for one another, Tawana soon asked Sean to move in with her. Tawana felt she had not only gained a lover, but a father figure for her family.
If me and Kiana asked him for something, he would be willing to give it to us with no questions asked.
Sean was in love. He told me numerous of times how much he loved my mother, how much he cared about it.
I love you.
The relationship seemed picture perfect. But in the fall of 2010, Tawana abruptly decided she and Sean needed a break. According to Tawana, Sean lacked the drive and ambition that she expected from her man.
So I was like, Mom, what's wrong? He don't want to do nothing. He don't want to work. He don't want to do nothing. I'm not taking care of no grown man.
Tawana made him move from the bedroom to the couch. But Sean vowed to be there for Tawana whenever she wanted to reignite their romance.
He didn't understand why they broke up, and I would try to explain to him, well, you know, you got to be patient with my mother. Like, you got to listen sometimes. If she wants you to do something, do it.
Good morning.
Good morning, baby.
The new arrangement seemed to work out well for both of them, and maybe with time, Sean could prove he was a changed man.
And he kept telling her, and us, he wanted to be with a man. I love her. I love her.
Put your coat on, Uncle.
Sean's willingness to give her the space she needed made Tawana's friends and family even more certain he was the man for her.
I have dinner ready for you when you get back.
Sean was a loving, caring person. Oh, okay, Ma, you found Mr. Right.
But before Tawana and Sean could officially patch things up, tragedy struck. Standing in Tawana's apartment that cold December night, investigators are struck by the brutality of the attack against her. As investigators search for answers, the question isn't just who murdered Tawana Barnes Copeland, but why.
Why would anyone want to take the life of such a caring person? And that's when the mystery really began.
Single mother Tawana Barnes Copeland longed to share her life with someone special. And that dream seemed to come true when she met the handsome and kind-hearted Sean Davis.
I'm Sean, by the way.
Tawana.
But shortly after they moved in together, Tawana unexpectedly put the brakes on their relationship. Friends and family believe Tawana and Sean will soon reunite. But that hope is snuffed out when police find Tawana brutally stabbed to death inside her apartment.
She was found in her bed. She had been stabbed several times, very deep wounds, 8 to 10 inches deep in the center of her torso.
Grieving friends and family converge outside Tawana's apartment building.
We were just heartbroken. We were really hurt. And we couldn't believe it.
Felt like I was crushed. Felt like my heart has just been taken out.
Huddled among them is a teary-eyed Sean Davis.
I actually called Sean, and he answered the phone, and I said, Sean, you know mommy got killed? He was like, what, for real? Are you serious?
While Sean and the rest of Tawana's loved ones grapple with their tragic loss, detectives question Tawana's daughter, Kiana.
Could you tell us what happened?
I came home. Mom, I'm home.
According to Kiana, she returned home to the apartment around 8:30 p.m. after spending the day with her boyfriend.
Mom, Matthew's gonna come over later.
But as soon as I walked in my house, I noticed that my mom's room door was closed. I go in my mom's room and I seen her landing.
Kiana thought she was asleep because she was under the covers. The mama not answering her. Ma.
I stood there for maybe 10, 15 minutes calling my mom's name and she didn't answer me. And when I flipped my mom's room light on, that's when I seen the blood.
Kiana's description of the scene matches the one detectives have encountered.
There are a number of what we call defense wounds on her body, on the backside of her arms. Clearly, these wounds indicate a person that's trying to protect themselves from the ravages of somebody that's attacking them.
Kiana tells detectives her mother might have fended off her attacker had she not been hampered by an injury she'd suffered at work the night before.
She called me and she was like, Key, I'm in the emergency room. She tripped over a wheelchair and broke her knee.
She had difficulty moving. She went to the emergency room. They put a cast on her. They gave her crutches.
To detectives, Tawana's condition sparks a theory. Could someone, perhaps a thief working the surrounding area, have taken note of her delicate condition and marked her for an easy target?
The area is not the worst area, but it's not the best area either.
Surveying the scene, robbery certainly seems possible.
Did you see your mom's car when you came in?
No, I didn't notice.
What kind of car is it?
A black Honda Accord.
Can we sweep the parking lot for that car?
Yes, sir.
Did you notice anything else missing?
It looked like they just invaded my mom's room. Her purse was thrown everywhere. The stuff that was on her TV stand was on the floor.
The robbery theory gains traction when detectives identify a possible murder weapon.
There was a large kitchen knife that was missing, and that kitchen knife was never recovered.
Detectives now believe that whoever attacked Tawana had seized the first weapon they saw upon entering the house.
I thought someone either tried to break in or did break in, and they seen my mother in there, and my mother probably seen their face, and they killed my mom.
And the chilling story Kiana tells next only fuels the deadly robbery theory.
Could someone perhaps working the area like a thief mark your mom as an easy target?
I know we had a break-in a while ago.
The investigators learned Tawana's home had been broken into maybe 2 to 3 weeks prior to her murder.
They used a trash can to break into the back window.
According to Kiana, her mother had witnessed the entire terrifying event.
She caught them. She saw the whole thing.
There was someone that had placed a trash can underneath her window, and they were climbing up through her window into her apartment.
What in the hell? I know you're not trying to break into my house!
At that point, Tawana called the police.
Yes, ma'am, I just saw 2 men trying to break into my apartment.
The police arrived and ultimately caught the 2 people that were still in the area. She identified them and made it known that she, in fact, was the person who identified them.
Detectives can't help but wonder if the robbers had returned a second time to commit a far more heinous crime as payback.
One of the concerns that we had was whether or not this was a retaliatory murder. And in other words, that those people had retaliated against her and killed her for having identified them.
It's a chilling thought, one that seems to gel with Tawana's gruesome injuries.
They just kept stabbing and kept stabbing and kept stabbing until she was dead.
Excuse me, detective. We didn't find the car.
Would you put an APB on that car? We need to find that car.
The victim's vehicle was missing. Someone had taken it.
It was suspected that the murderer may have taken it.
And whoever murdered Tawana appears to have entered the home in the exact same way the robbers did 2 weeks prior.
What do you got?
I believe we have a possible point of entry.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
There was a window that had been pushed out of the home, which could indicate that somebody had broken into the home by way of that window.
It increasingly appears Tawana Barnes Copeland is indeed the victim of a revenge killing, to pull the incident reports on the prior break-in at Tawana's apartment.
In an investigation, some things may just jump out at you. Obviously, as an investigator, you're going to look at the break-in at Tawana's home not long before the attack on her that morning of December 7th.
But new information is about to reveal an even more terrifying layer to this tragic story. and leave detectives speculating Tawana wasn't the victim of a home invasion. Rather, she unwittingly invited her killer into her own home. A stable job, an adoring family, a man who loved her and gave her the space she needed to find true happiness. It seemed Tawana Barnes Copeland was living a fairy tale. But that fairy tale took a nightmarish turn when Tawana's daughter discovered her brutally stabbed to death inside her apartment.
It was heartbreaking. It was disgusting. And first thing was running through my mind was just, how can somebody even have the heart, the guts to even do that to somebody?
A missing vehicle along with an open window suggests a possible robbery. Detectives have also learned that Tawana had thwarted a similar attack a few weeks earlier.
She called the police and the detective told her to come outside to identify the dudes.
She identified those people. So one of the theories that was explored was whether or not her murder was maybe a retaliatory murder for her identification.
Investigators put out an APB on Tawana's vehicle and file a request for the incident report on the botched robbery. As for Tawana's friends and family, they're still in shock over the news of her death. No one seems more devastated than Tawana's daughter, Kiana, and Tawana's former boyfriend, Sean Davis.
Sean was upset. He missed my mom. He can't believe she's gone. He missed her so much. It took a lot out of him.
He loved her. He wanted to be with her. Now she's gone.
As Sean and Kiana struggled to cope with the heartache, police finally received the incident report from the initial break-in and identify a pair of suspects.
Whoever broke into the home decided to kill this woman because maybe she resisted. I have to find them.
While police scrambled to locate these two men, detectives continue searching Tawana's apartment for additional evidence that might tie them to the crime.
They collected nearly everything that came from that apartment, all to see if it maybe could be later tested for DNA or fingerprints.
But as detectives take a closer look at the possible point of entry, they notice something unusual.
The window was open, and when police checked the locking mechanism, it appeared to work fine. Also, that was very suspicious was that the screen had been pushed out rather than pushed in.
Which suggests they entered the apartment in some other fashion and then fled through the window. But where exactly is that point of entry? As detectives try to solve this puzzle, they receive a call that changes everything.
They're not our guys.
We found out that those people were actually incarcerated at the time of the murder.
But if the two men who originally broke into Tawana's residence aren't responsible for her murder, then who is? Tawana's gruesome injuries may offer a clue.
She was stabbed at least 12 times. Her throat was slit. This person was obviously very passionate about her.
It was definitely a more emotional case than you typically have. A lot of times there can just be a random killing, but here you could tell that it was very personal.
Speaking to family members, detectives learned that Tawana recently put the brakes on her and Sean's budding romance and banished Sean to the couch while she figured things out.
They was together before, and, she felt sorry for him at the same time. So, okay, all right, you can sleep right here, but we're not sleeping in the same bed.
Is it possible that a lovelorn Sean may have murdered Tawana? Friends and family think the theory is absurd.
Sean was at the house, the cookouts and everything else, and it couldn't be Sean.
When police question him, Sean seems torn apart by Tawana's death.
Can we speak to you just a minute?
Oh, sure.
More importantly, Sean seems to have an airtight alibi.
Where were you when all this happened? I was at work. I came over as soon as I heard about it.
He was very cooperative with the investigation. He told the police he had been at work all day.
Sean's supervisor at work ultimately corroborates his statement.
He worked at Kitchen Match Temporaries. It was a temp agency. Sean Davis arrived there in actuality about 11.
Sorry for your loss. If we have any more questions, we'll reach out to you.
With Sean's alibi all but eliminating him as a suspect, the investigation appears to have hit a dead end. Until the coroner's office issues their findings on Tawana's cause of death.
The wounds were consistent from being inflicted from a person who was left-handed.
Whoever had this knife was left-handed. Everybody thinking, who left-handed, who left-handed?
Police quickly zero in on one individual, the person closest to Tawana, the person who placed the 911 call the night of the crime, her daughter, Kiana.
They asked me if I was left-handed. So I'm like, yes, I'm left-handed, not knowing they asking me these questions for a reason.
Kiana is left-handed, and so was the killer. But, you know, you wouldn't think that Kiana would ever hurt her mother.
But it isn't just Kiana's left hand that caught investigators' attention. It's what they heard when they closely examined her 911 call.
She was the one that called the police, and if you listen to it, it sounds like Kiana's laughing.
Could Tawana's own flesh and blood have committed this terrible crime? Investigators bring Kiana in for questioning, starting with the timeline Kiana initially laid out for them.
Let me get this straight. You said you got home, waited 10 to 15 minutes calling your mom, but you never bothered to check on her?
Well, yeah, I mean, I thought she was sleeping.
They treated me as though, okay, well, how do we know that you didn't kill your mom?
As the interrogation intensifies, so does Kiana's belligerence.
That's what I said.
They kept telling me to calm down, but to me it felt as though they just kept asking me the same questions and then trying to reverse the questions. I told the detective, do you really think I'm crazy? Do I look like the person that can stand over you 10 times and slice your throat?
Whoever killed your mom was left-handed. You're left-handed. So we got a problem.
I'm innocent. I'm telling you, I'm innocent.
Okay, so if you didn't do it, then who did?
That's when Kiana drops a bombshell.
Bo.
I believed it was Bo. I thought it was Bo.
According to Kiana, while taking time to sort out her feelings for Sean, Tawana had met a man named Bo, a security guard at the hospital where she worked. Although she'd only met him once, Tawana's daughter had a bad feeling about Bo.
When I first met him, his body language seemed fishy.
Just 2 weeks after meeting Bo, Tawana was dead. To Kiana, the timing seemed like more than just a coincidence.
I didn't see no one else doing it to my mom but him.
But given her defiant attitude, detectives can't figure out if Kiana is telling the truth or trying to deflect attention away from herself.
You're going to continue to follow that person and watch that person, make sure they don't skip town. But you know that at some point, you're going to zero in on that person.
It's been nearly 48 hours since police found Tawana Barnes Copeland stabbed to death inside the bedroom of her Washington, D.C. apartment. After ruling out a pair of petty street criminals, police have learned that Tawana's attacker was left-handed, which shifts the focus of their investigation to her daughter, Kiana. But Kiana has put another possible suspect on the table, a mystery man named Bo, who Tawana started seeing after she put her romance with live-in boyfriend Sean Davis on hold.
I thought maybe it was her friend Bo. I didn't know him. I just met him. And then, like, as soon as my mom meets you, she's dead. How could this happen so fast?
Unsure if Kiana is telling the truth or trying to throw them off her own trail, investigators asked Tawana's friends and family if Kiana might be capable of murder.
We were like, no, are you serious? Are you crazy? We're cussing the police out. Are you effing crazy? Get the hell out of here with that. No way. That's her mother. She loved her mother. She loved her mother.
In addition, Kiana seems to have an airtight alibi. According to Kiana's boyfriend, Matthew Salgado, she was with him the day the murder took place. But what about the 10 to 15-minute window between the time Kiana arrived home and the time she called 911? Ironically, the same autopsy report that casts a shadow of doubt over the left-handed Kiana ultimately exonerates her.
The autopsy could not really provide a specific time. They could just say that the murder had probably occurred 8 to 12 hours before she was discovered that evening.
That meant Tawana had been lying dead in her apartment since approximately 8:30 a.m. the morning of December 7th, a time that detectives can confirm Kiana was at the home of her boyfriend, Matthew Salgado. With Kiana eliminated as a suspect, investigators turn their attention to Tawana's mysterious new suitor, Bo. At first, investigators only know this mystery man by his first name. But a little digging reveals Bo is the nickname of Larry Thomas.
He was a nice-looking guy, 5'6", 5'7", short haircut, typical young-looking dude.
According to her family, Bo had taken an interest in Tawana shortly after she decided to cool things off with live-in boyfriend Sean Davis.
I had a really good time tonight.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah?
Then, just 5 days before her murder, Tawana invited Bo back to her house.
The first date that Tawana and Bo went on was at the IHOP. The first time me and Kiana met Bo was that night when he came to the house. Bo acted like he didn't want to shake my hand. I don't know why.
Bo's coldness immediately rubbed Kiana and her boyfriend the wrong way, and Kiana made it clear how she felt about him.
I gave him the normal, typical child, you dating my mom look, gave him the up and down, what's up with you? Every question I asked him was like short answer, like, okay, hurry and get your daughter out of my face.
As for Sean, who was still crashing on Tawana's couch, he tried to make the best of an awkward situation. But when Bo found out Tawana's on-again, off-again ex-boyfriend still lived with her, he became upset.
I thought Bo was kind of jealous because when my mom brought Bo to the house to meet us, Sean was in the living room on a pull-out sofa.
Detectives believe they finally found a motive that fits the crime: jealousy.
The investigators were very concerned about Bo because if you really look at the timeline, here he comes, and then less than 3 weeks later, she ends up dead.
I thought Bo took it as though my mother was playing with him or, was like using him.
Investigators begin a search for Larry Thomas, a.k.a. Bo, but Thomas is nowhere to be found. With Bo MIA, Tawana's family decides to take matters into their own hands.
It was a hunt. You better hope they get you before we get you. That's how it was. That's how we feel.
With nearly everyone in Tawana's extended family scouring the area for clues, it doesn't take long for one of them, Tawana's street-smart cousin Patrick Wilson, to hunt Bo down. According to a friend, Bo had been spotted hanging out at a local recording studio. Patrick informs police and makes his way to the studio to confront Bo himself.
I rode over to the studio, took out, I had a firearm. My friend came to the door.
What's going on?
He was like, man, let me talk to you first. I said, ain't no need to talk, homeboy. Excuse me. He here? I need to see him.
Hey, let me holler at Bo. Put the gun away and I'll go get him. You go get him then. You do that. Chill, man.
Moments later, Bo emerges from the recording studio.
And you killed Tawana. Hey. You killed Tawana. I ain't killed Tawana. I didn't kill Tawana.
He said, man, I ain't had nothing to do with this.
Just listen to what I'm saying, man. I didn't kill Tawana.
But as Bo attempts to explain himself, an officer arrives on the scene.
Back up! What's going on? Come over and talk. What's going on? Nothing going on, man. He just came up here. Relax.
He places Bo in the squad car and calls in detectives.
Bo was a primary person of interest in this case.
With Bo in custody, detectives hope they've finally found Tawana's killer, a possibility that proves even more likely when they make a shocking discovery.
He got my cousin car right over there. That black Honda. Right there. He stole it.
He had her car. I thought you did something to Tawana, Bo, and now you stole her car.
You got her car. She's dead. No weapon. No nothing. So, how you get her car?
It appears investigators are one step closer to solving the murder of Tawana Barnes Copeland. But a shocking revelation will soon lead detectives to wonder, are they staring down Tawana's killer? Or about to throw the book at an innocent man? After ruling out several suspects, including her daughter Kiana and her boyfriend-turned-roommate Sean Davis, police now believe Tawana's new love interest, Bo, a.k.a. Larry Thomas, is responsible for the murder of 41-year-old Tawana Barnes.
Everything in me was just saying, this man killed your mother. He did it.
Thanks to Tawana's cousin Patrick Wilson, police now have Bo in custody. And as CSIs process Tawana's vehicle for evidence, detectives grill Bo about the murder. While Bo denies any involvement in the crime, he admits seeing Tawana in the hours just prior to her death.
She was at work. She was injured, and she called Bo to come pick her up about 3 o'clock in the morning, and then drove her to her home, dropped her off, made sure she got safely into her bedroom.
What happened when you took her home?
Nothing. Nothing happened. She went to bed. I told her I would call her in the morning, and I left.
Bo tells detectives he went to work early that morning and tried to call Tawana several times during the course of the day.
Man, I called her all day, and she never answered her phone.
You got a car.
I drove her home from work, all right? So she let me borrow it.
She had allowed him to use her vehicle so that he could get back and forth to work.
Come on, man. You killed her. You were jealous of all these other men.
No, that's not true.
Bo maintains he had nothing to do with the crime, but detectives believe the forensic evidence collected at the crime scene and in Tawana's car will link him to her murder.
We're also looking for fruits of evidence of the crime itself, whether or not the weapon used was in that vehicle, whether or not there's any blood stains in that vehicle. So the vehicle, most of the time, especially in a homicide case, is very, very critical.
But CSI's findings are surprisingly inconclusive.
They checked the car. Wasn't no evidence of blood. Wasn't nothing in the car.
Shortly after that, investigators receive a call from Bo's employer, who confirms Bo's story that he was at work at the time of the murder.
Bo's supervisor was contacted, and everything that Bo said, it was the truth.
Still, investigators aren't ready to rule out Bo as a suspect. They decide to subpoena the phone records of both Bo and Tawana. As detectives wait for a judge to sign off on the subpoena, Tawana's family begins planning her funeral.
I was angry, I was upset, I was sad, I was hysterical. I just wanted to get out of there. I just wanted to go home to my mother. I just couldn't deal with none of this. Why would somebody do this to my mom?
Thankfully, Kiana can depend on the love and support of Sean Davis, Tawana's on-again, off-again boyfriend, whose love for Tawana and her daughter was unwavering.
The day before the funeral, I shook Sean's hand and telling him thank you for trying to look after Kiana.
As Sean, Kiana, and the rest of the family put the finishing touches on Tawana's funeral arrangements, the subpoena for Bo and Tawana's cell phone records is finally approved.
His phone records, as well as the caller ID in Tawana's apartment, indicated that he was trying to call her all day, consistent with his promise, and it's aligned perfectly with where he said he was, which was out in Prince George's County, far away from the murder.
Though Bo's cell phone records seem to solidify his alibi, when investigators check Tawana's phone records, they make a startling discovery.
10:35 a.m., Tawana Barnes' cell phone was on the move, and it was pinging off a cell tower in northwest Washington, D.C. And this is a woman who we know was in no shape to be gallivanting around the city.
More importantly, how did Tawana's cell phone end up across town some 2 hours after her estimated time of death? Investigators check businesses in the area and uncover something shocking.
It was pinging off a cell tower, which was pretty much directly on top of Sean Davis's work. And at the same time, Sean Davis's phone was also making calls, pinging off that very same cell phone tower.
Is it a coincidence? Or could Tawana's doting boyfriend turned best friend have had a hand in her murder? The answer to that question would leave police and Tawana's family shell-shocked. A brutal stabbing left 41-year-old Tawana Barnes Copeland dead and her family searching for answers. While her killer remains at large, phone records indicate that Tawana's ex-flame, Sean Davis, was in possession of her cell phone shortly after her murder.
Cell site records showed that that phone was located in the area of Sean Davis's work. But right after that call, the phone turned off and never turned on again.
The phone records also show Sean and Tawana had spoken multiple times in the hours leading up to her death, which contradicts Sean's initial statement. Still, investigators have a hard time believing Sean is Tawana's killer. For starters, his alibi that he was working all day checked out. And in the days since the murder, Sean had been the rock that propped up Tawana's grieving loved ones. But as detectives dig deeper, a less flattering picture of Sean begins to emerge.
Tawana and Sean has been in some fights before. He wanted her to stay with him. He wanted her to be with him. He wanted her as his girlfriend, and she didn't want that any longer.
Sean was pretty upset about Tawana moving on and doing whatever she wanted to do, and he still loved her. He was really mad.
On December 12th, 2010, detectives bring Sean Davis in for questioning.
He admitted that Tawana Barnes Copeland was his ex-girlfriend, that they had broken up and he had been jealous over her relationship with other men, but he still cared very deeply for her.
Though he was hurt when Tawana moved on, Sean insists he would never harm her and maintains he hadn't seen or even spoken to Tawana the day she died. But when presented with cell phone records, Sean's story begins to shift.
The phone record says you talked that morning.
Oh, yeah. That's right, yeah. She called me, wanted some help filling out a prescription.
Sean now claims he did speak to Tawana the day she was murdered.
She asked him if he would help to fill her prescriptions that morning. He said, "I'll get to it later." The detectives pressed him on that point. You know, this is someone that you cared about. She had had this accident. She was in pain, and you just told her that you would get back to her later? That doesn't make sense.
So you're telling me you weren't at Tawana that morning?
Yeah.
How do you explain her cell phone pinged off a tower near your job?
I don't know. I didn't have it.
That's when detectives throw Sean a curveball.
Sean, are you right-handed or left-handed?
Left-handed. Why you ask?
Sean Davis was left-handed, and this was significant because the wounds were consistent from being inflicted from a person who was left-handed.
All right, stand up.
It's not much, but based on the phone records, Sean's ever-changing stories, and the fact that he is left-handed, police decide to charge Sean Davis with Tawana's murder. Friends and family simply can't believe it.
The detectives called me and said, "We found out who killed your mom." And I was like, "Thank you, Jesus. Who was it?" He took a deep sigh and was like, "It was Sean." And I was like, "Who?" And he was like, "It was Sean."
But that trust in Sean begins to change at his preliminary hearing.
At first, he was smiling and talking, but once he looked over and seen me sitting right there, it's like his whole mood changed.
Reading from the indictment, prosecutors assert that on the morning of December 7th, 2010, Tawana asked Sean Davis to help her fill out a pain prescription.
Can you help me fill this out for my prescription, please?
Sure, baby. You know I'll do anything for you.
But before they left the apartment, Sean confronted Tawana about her new friend, Bo.
So, how'd you get home?
Bo dropped me off.
Bo dropped you off? Why you ain't call me? You know I'm always here for you.
I believe that he was jealous of Tawana's new romantic interest with Bo. He wanted to be with her, but she was interested in being with someone else.
According to prosecutors, when Tawana rejected Sean's advances, he snapped.
Did you just put your hands on me?
He grabbed a knife out of the kitchen, came back into the room where Tawana was, and he proceeded to stab her.
I think that just pushed Sean to his limit, like, okay, she really don't want to be with me no more, and she's basically moved on, and he didn't.
Prosecutors allege Sean stabbed Tawana over 12 times and then slashed her throat in one final act of rage.
The pieces of the puzzle came together. He was so much in love with her that he felt no other man could have her. Crime of passion.
After he realized what he'd done, Sean panicked, stole Tawana's cell phone, and staged the window to look like a break-in.
Sean Davis knew about that prior case, and so it made a lot of sense that he then decided to stage the burglary, particularly opening up the window.
Prosecutors assert Sean's plan might have worked, had it not been for one crucial slip-up.
Tawana's phone was ringing in the area in which Sean supposed to have been at work. So he had Tawana's phone the entire time. Then he gets rid of the phone by his job. Smart man. And I say that sarcastically.
But after the preliminary hearing, Sean Davis makes another unexpected move. With evidence mounting against him, He pleads guilty to Tawana's murder. The judge sentences him to 18 years in prison.
He copped the plea because he know he's done. His goose was cooked.
He said the reason he did it was because he wanted to be with her, but she didn't want to be with him, and he couldn't accept that it was a stupid mistake, and he was sorry.
For Tawana's loved ones, the verdict is a bittersweet reward.
As he pled guilty and I said what I said, he basically was showing like he really messed up, like he was sorry, but I didn't care. I don't think I'll ever forgive Sean. I've tried, and they say, you know, you don't have to forget, but you can forgive, but I don't think I'll ever forgive that man. Like, you did what you did, so take your punishment.
I believe that Sean was a ticking time bomb who was going to do something to get Tawana back, or he wasn't going to let her be with anyone else. And how can you do that to someone? You can't make a person love you. If they don't love you, then you need to move on. You don't take nobody's life.
He had noticed the scarred earth and tarpaulins flapping wildly in the field just behind the croft. Archaeological team from Aberdeen Uni, Sandy answered, his voice echoing slightly in the stone house, led by a Professor Paul Berglund. They've been here for a few weeks. Jimmy crouched down, examining the floorboards around the body without touching them. Right, take as many photos as you can, the body, the surrounding area, and inside the croft, get the angles of the broken glass, and then email them to the pathology lab in Inverness. Do you think you can manage that? Of course, Sandy said, though he didn't move. Jimmy stood up and looked closely at his DC. Sandy's eyes were bloodshot, his skin sallow. You sure? Jimmy asked, his tone sharpening. Because your eyes look like piss holes in the snow. Sandy flinched. Sorry, sir. Late night. I thought I was off duty. We're never off duty here. Sandy, you still not got that yet. Don't worry. It happens to the best of us. Jimmy sighed, softening slightly. It's not that, is it? It's the shock. It's the Dutch chocolate vodka from last night, Sandy admitted miserably. I was drinking over in Lerwick. Right. Well, sober up fast. Go film your cousin Ronald, the one who found her. I've not met him. His mother and my mother were cousins, Sandy explained, adjusting the camera strap. He's taking his place on his family's pelagic trawler, the Cassandra. Yeah, she's a beauty. State of the art, Jimmy noted, filing the information away. Fishing in Shetland was big business, and pelagic trawlers were floating factories worth millions. Not like my old man's tugboat. I hear the Haldanes are worth a fortune. Is that right? They've got part of the fishing quota. They do okay. Sandy nodded. They're rich. Does that cause any problems between the families? Jimmy asked quietly, watching Sandy's reaction. Your family has the land. Their family has the money? Sandy bristled defensively. No tension. We're family. Jimmy didn't press it. Family in Shetland was a complicated web. Go take the photos, Sandy. Then I want you to go home. Be with your dad. He's going to need you. Chapter 4, The Alibi. Ronald Holdan was a mountain of a man, built like a brick outhouse with a thick red beard and hands the size of dinner plates. He stood outside his own croft, a mile down the road from Mima's, smoking a cigarette with trembling fingers. Jimmy approached him slowly, letting the man see him coming. Mr. Holdan, I'm De Paris. I'm sorry for your loss. Ronald took a drag of his cigarette, the tip glowing fiercely in the gloom. It's a bad business. Bloody awful. Who would do a thing like that to an old woman? You must be stunned, Jimmy said, his voice soothing but probing. But I'm going to have to ask you a few questions. You passed by the croft last night? Ronald grunted. I was just on my way home. I was drinking over in Lerwick, like I do most nights when I'm off shift. Drinking heavily? Look, I'm no long back from sea, Ronald said, a defensive edge creeping into his voice. I don't know what to do with myself on land. Now get off my back. For goodness sake. It's my Andy lying dead up there. All right, take it easy. Jimmy placated him. Just walk me through your night. These days, the deep sea ships only port at the main island. So you were in Lerwick. I missed the last ferry back to Bresse. Had a wee nightcap at the pub. Which pub? The Kelly. I slept in my car at the terminal, then got the first ferry over this morning. That's when I drove past and saw the glass. Jimmy noted the timeline. It was plausible, but it lacked witnesses for the crucial hours. What about your wife? Anna, was she at home alone all night? Ronald scowled. The baby was sleeping. Anna took the opportunity to join me in Lerwick for a bit earlier in the evening, but she came back early. My mom, Jackie, was here keeping an eye on the bairn. How long did Jackie stay? Half an hour. Anna said she came over to tell us about a piece of bone she found at the dig. Jimmy's interest piqued. The archaeological dig on Mima's land? Your mother volunteers there? She's actually quite excited about it. Found an old bone. Jimmy nodded slowly. Right. One last thing. Ronald, you hold a shotgun license, don't you? Ronald stiffened. Aye, for the rabbits. Has the gun been fired recently? I went out shooting rabbits after I got home last week. You often go out lamping with a spotlight. I'll need to take the gun. Now, if you don't mind, for testing, routine elimination. Ronald stared at him for a long moment, the hostility radiating off him in waves. Finally, he nodded sharply. Fine. It's in the lockbox. As Jimmy secured the weapon in the trunk of his car, Tosh pulled up in an unmarked police vehicle. She hopped out, pulling a beanie down over her ears against the cold. Boss, she greeted him. Forensics are on the ferry over. What have we got? Mima Wilson, late 70s. Shotgun blast to the chest at close range. Found by her nephew, Ronald Holdan, who conveniently missed his ferry last night and has no alibi. Jimmy briefed her rapidly. I want you to head over to the archaeological dig behind the croft. Find a Professor Paul Berglund and a student named Hattie James. See what they know. Apparently, Mima's sister found a bone yesterday, and people were excited about it. Tosh frowned. A bone? Animal or human? That's what you're going to find out, Jimmy said, and Tosh. Watch your step. The ground is saturated and tensions are high. Everyone on this island is related to the victim in one way or another. Chapter 5. The Pars Orbital. The archaeological dig was a scar of dark peat carved into the vibrant green of the hill. Tarpaulins flapped aggressively in the wind, anchored by heavy stones. Deep trenches had been meticulously dug, revealing layers of dark, rich soil and the gray stone foundations of what looked like an ancient longhouse. Tosh picked her way carefully across the muddy boards, her boots sinking into the muck. A young woman in a waterproof jacket and muddy trousers was sitting on a plastic crate near the main trench, her head in her hands. She looked up as Tosh approached. She had pale skin, dark circles under her eyes, and a striking brace on her teeth that glinted in the dull light. "Hattie James?" Tosh asked, flashing her badge. "I'm D.C. McIntosh. I need to ask you a few questions about Mima Wilson." Hattie let out a shuddering breath. "Oh, God. Oh, God. I know. It's awful." She pulled her coat tighter around herself. Tosh noticed it was an older, slightly frayed wool coat, far too big for her. "Is that Mima's coat?" Tosh asked gently. Hattie nodded, tears spilling over her lower lashes. "Yes, it was pouring down yesterday. Mima saw me shivering. She was like that, kind. She gave me the jacket, said I could keep it. That was very generous of her," Tosh said, her mind working quickly. The killer had shot a woman wearing that coat in the dark. Could it be a case of mistaken identity? Was that the last time you saw her? "No." Hattie wiped her nose. "No, I was with her last night." Tosh straightened up. "What time?" "I left the pub in Lerwick about 9. I caught the late ferry back to Bresse. I stopped in and had a quick cup of tea with her. She just seemed like her normal self." "Did she mention anyone coming to see her? Anyone she was worried about?" "No," Hattie said, her voice shaking. "But Mima was a bit funny at the dig earlier yesterday." "Funny how?" Hattie pointed to the deepest trench. "Sophie and I were working down there with Jackie. Jackie Holdan, Ronald's mother. She volunteers to help us sift. Mima turned up with some tea in a thermos just as Jackie found a piece of bone." "What kind of bone?" Hattie swallowed. "I was hoping it was just a fragment of animal pottery or an animal bone, but I'm a paleoanthropology student. I know what I'm looking at. It was a pars orbital. Tosh raised an eyebrow, silently asking for translation. A piece of a human skull. Hattie clarified, her voice dropping to a whisper, right above the eye socket. And Mima saw it? Yes. She went pale. She dropped the thermos. It shattered everywhere. Hattie looked around the desolate landscape nervously. Maybe she didn't like the idea of living so close to the dead. I don't know. Tosh thanked the girl and headed back to her car to call Paris. A human skull found on the property on the same day the owner is murdered. In Shetland, there were no coincidences, only history coming back to bite you. Chapter 6, The Grieving Son. Jimmy Perez sat in the small, immaculate living room of Joseph Wilson's house in Lerwick. Joseph, Mima's son and Sandy's father, was a stark contrast to the rugged Ronald Holdan. Joseph was a neat, precise man who worked as an accountant. Right now, however, that precision was shattered. His eyes were red-rimmed, his hands tightly clasped in his lap. Sandy stood behind him, a silent, protective shadow. I'm sorry for your loss. Joseph, Jimmy said softly. It's a hell of a thing to lose your mother like that. Joseph stared at the floral pattern on the rug. She wasn't an easy woman, Jimmy. You know that. It's not an argument in an empty room to say she was stubborn. But she was my mother. She did not deserve to die like a dog in the dark. No, she didn't, Jimmy agreed. Joseph, I have to ask, where were you last night? Joseph looked up, his face flashing with sudden anger. Are you asking if I shot my own mother? I'm asking everyone where they were. Jimmy replied evenly. It's procedure. Joseph deflated. I wasn't sure if you were in the station when I called. That's right. I was over at Lerwick, picking up some new nets for the boat. Missed the last ferry. Slept in the car at the harbor. Jimmy felt a prickle of unease. Ronald Holdan told me the exact same story. You both slept in your cars at the ferry terminal? Joseph hesitated. It happens. The ferry schedule is unforgiving. Did you see each other? No, it was dark, pouring rain. Jimmy turned his attention to Sandy. Sandy, you've got some leave due. I want you to stay with your dad, because he needs you. Sandy bristled, stepping forward. I want to help with the case, sir. I'm capable of more than making tea, if you'll give me a chance. I know you are. Sandy, Jimmy said, his voice firm. But it's difficult. It's a conflict of interest. Right now, your job is to get your dad to take stock of what might have been taken from the croft. Because we need to be sure it wasn't a burglary gone wrong. Jimmy stood up to leave. As he reached the door, he paused. Joseph, what's going to happen to the dig now? Mima's land. Joseph looked away. It looks like I'm going to have to close it down. Too many bad memories now. Will you put the place up for sale? Jimmy asked quietly. I know Duncan Hunter has been trying to get Mima to sell the land for years to build those luxury holiday cottages. She would never agree, Joseph whispered. Never. It was her life. But she's gone now, Jimmy pointed out gently, and the land is yours. Joseph didn't answer. He just buried his face in his hands and wept. Chapter 7. Shadows of the Shetland Bus. The Holden residence was a large, imposing stone house that spoke of generations of fishing wealth. Jimmy was shown into the drawing room by Jackie Holden, a sharp-eyed woman in her 60s with immaculate hair and a posture that demanded respect. Sitting by the roaring fire was Andrew Holden, Ronald's grandfather and the patriarch of the family. He was frail, his skin like translucent parchment, wrapped in a heavy tartan blanket. Jackie, Jimmy nodded. Mr. Holden. Jimmy, isn't it? Andrew rasped, his voice sounding like dry leaves. I knew your mother when she was a girl. Ah, much the same. You still keep my old man on his toes. Trying to, sir. Jimmy smiled politely. He turned to Jackie. I heard you were wetting the baby's head yesterday evening, over at Ronald's. Better late than never, Jackie said briskly, offering him a seat. Have you any news yet about Mima? Not yet. I'm trying to piece the families together, just so that I understand this. You and Joseph's late wife were cousins. Am I right? Jackie nodded. Aye. But we're all connected in one way or another in Shetland, aren't we? One big happy family. Her tone suggested otherwise. Since all those incomers came to work at Sullenbo Oil Terminal, you wouldn't know who was on the islands half the time. It's not safe anymore. Nobody likes to think the threat is local. Jimmy said carefully, but 9 times out of 10, victims know their killers. Jackie, you were at Anna and Ronald's house last night. Did you notice any strangers on your way home? I didn't. Sorry. I was in after that. My father, she nodded toward the sleeping old man, can't be left alone for any length of time. Jimmy leaned forward. Hattie James, the student from the dig, said that Mima was a bit put out when you found that piece of human skull. Jackie waved a dismissive hand. It was nothing. She was quite possessive of her land. That's all. Mima never liked people digging up the past. Speaking of the past, Jimmy said, his eyes scanning the photographs on the mantelpiece. One black and white picture caught his eye. It showed 2 young men in thick woolen sweaters standing on the deck of a small, battered fishing boat. Is that your father, Jackie, and Jerry Wilson, Mima's husband? Andrew Holdan suddenly stirred, his milky eyes fixing on Jimmy. The Shetland boss, the old man wheezed. Yes, Mr. Holdan, Jimmy said respectfully, during the war. Local boats, Andrew whispered, his mind slipping back 60 years. We were used to transport saboteurs into Norway. Across the North Sea in the dead of winter, hiding from the Nazi patrols. Brave men, Jimmy acknowledged. Jerry Wilson was a good man, Andrew said, his voice gaining a momentary strength. But he brought back more than just refugees. He brought back ghosts. Jackie quickly stepped in, her face tight. Don't forget your pills, Dad. I took them already. Come now. You're tired. She effectively ended the interview, ushering Jimmy toward the door. As he stepped out into the freezing air, Jimmy couldn't shake the feeling that the past was bleeding heavily into the present. A human skull, a WWII covert operation, a murdered old woman. The pieces were there, but the puzzle picture was obscured by a heavy Shetland fog. Chapter 8, Boiling Point. The rest of the day was a grueling blur of paperwork, coordinating search teams, and dealing with the press. The murder of an elderly woman on a small island was headline news across Scotland. By the time Jimmy got home, the sky was pitch black and the wind was howling a mournful tune around the eaves of his house. He found Cassie in the kitchen, sitting cross-legged on the counter, watching a pot of water boil. "I'm making pasta," Jimmy announced, shrugging off his coat and rolling up his sleeves. He grabbed a box of dry spaghetti and a jar of sauce. Cassie watched him with a critical eye. Mom was right. Cooking's all about timing, and you don't have it. "I have excellent timing," Jimmy lied, dumping the pasta into the water without waiting for a rolling boil. "1 minute. I don't know why you don't just let me cook," she sighed, hopping off the counter. "Because I like cooking." "Well, that may be, but you're rubbish at it. Pasta should be served al dente." "Oh, is that right? Well, use that al fresco tone if you like, but you're eating it." Jimmy smiled, trying to inject some normalcy into the house. The shadow of Mima Wilson's death hung heavy over him. Cassie picked at the label on the pasta sauce jar. "Can I go over to Maury's after dinner?" Jimmy stopped stirring. The image of Mima's shattered door flashed in his mind. No. "Why?" Cassie whined. "It's Friday." "Because it's late. It's getting dark, and..." Jimmy paused, trying to find the right words that wouldn't terrify her. "And there's an active investigation going on." "You mean there's a killer on the loose?" Cassie said it bluntly. Children in Shetland grew up pragmatic. "In fact, until this Mima Wilson business is over, I don't want you going anywhere on your own," Jimmy said firmly. "School, home, and nowhere else unless I'm with you." Cassie rolled her eyes dramatically. "Dad, it's Shetland." not Chicago. I don't care. Jimmy snapped, his anxiety flaring. He took a deep breath, reining it in. Please, Cass, just for a few days. Do it for my blood pressure. Later that evening, after a dinner of distinctly al dente pasta, the doorbell rang. It was Duncan Hunter. Jimmy let him in, offering him a beer, which Duncan accepted with a nod. They sat in the living room, the atmosphere strained but civil. What's this I hear about you trying to buy Mima Wilson's place in Bresse? Jimmy asked, cutting straight to the chase. Duncan took a sip of his beer, unbothered. Word travels fast. It's true. I want to build holiday lets. The view up there is spectacular. Tourists would pay a premium. Chris Dinkins said you're turning into Shetland's answer to Donald Trump. Jimmy observed wryly. Oddly, I take that as a compliment. Duncan smirked. Anyway, no joy. Joseph wanted the deal to go through, but unfortunately, it's not his land. Mima held the deed tight. It is his land now, Jimmy pointed out, watching Duncan's reaction closely. Duncan held his hands up. Ho, Jimmy, I might be a capitalist, but I'm not a murderer. I had no idea what happened until I heard it from Craig this morning. I could do without the uphill battle here. People will think Ronald Holdan got drunk and shot Mima by accident, or that I paid someone to do it. Well, thinking's fine, Jimmy said softly, leaning forward. But I have to be sure. I know your problem. Duncan sighed, leaning back. You think it's perfect here. You want this island protected at all costs. You want it frozen in amber. But things change. Jimmy, a wee bit more sunshine, and you'd turn it into Benidorm if the money was right. I wish, Jimmy muttered. Nah, you know, I just think most people here don't want to lager their souls for a quick buck. Before the argument could escalate, Cassie walked into the room, wearing her pajamas. Night, Dad. Night, Duncan. Cassie, Duncan said, his face softening instantly into genuine affection. Come and say good night to your father. Cassie walked over and hugged Duncan. See you the weekend. Okay. Duncan smiled. After she left the room, Duncan stared at the doorway for a long time. She's another thing that'll change. She'll get bored of Shetland soon. She'll go back to the mainland for university. You'll see. Jimmy felt a tight knot in his chest. After Fran and me split up and you guys got together, I thought I'd never see Cass again. So I can't thank you enough for letting her stay with me after her mom passed. Duncan looked at Jimmy, his arrogant facade dropping for a rare moment. It wasn't completely selfless. Jimmy, you want to be here more than she does right now. You give her stability. You're her dad. I'm just her father. Jimmy nodded slowly, the shared grief over Fran momentarily bridging the massive gap between the two men. Looks like hard work. It is, Duncan agreed, finishing his beer. Keep her safe, Jimmy. Chapter 9, Flight. The next morning broke cold and clear, a rare reprieve from the relentless rain. Jimmy arrived at the station early, a takeaway coffee in hand. Tosh was already at her desk, looking stressed. Sir, we have a problem, she announced as soon as Jimmy took his coat off. I went back to the dig this morning to speak to Professor Berglund. And he's gone, packed his bags and bolted. I spoke to the owner of the B&B where he was staying. He left at the crack of dawn. Jimmy's blood ran cold. Flight equaled guilt in his book. Did you get a description? Scandinavian looking, mid-40s, wearing a Gore-Tex waterproof. Tosh deadpanned. Thanks, B&B owner. That really narrows it down on a ferry full of fishermen and tourists. Berglund was on the ferry that just left for Aberdeen. Craig chimed in from his desk, holding a printed passenger manifest. Damn it, Jimmy swore. Craig, get McCabe to radio Aberdeen police. Have them intercept him at the terminal. I want him brought back here immediately. On it, Craig said, dialing his phone. Okay. Jimmy paced the room, his mind racing. We're going to have to go through the CCTV at the Lerwick Ferry Terminal for the night of the murder. I need to know if Joseph Wilson or Ronald Holdan were actually sleeping in their cars like they claimed, or if they took a private boat across the Sound. He turned to a whiteboard, grabbing a marker. Let's look at the list of people with a license to hold a shotgun on Bresset and Lerwick. He started writing rapidly. The Haldanes are on it. Andrew and Ronald. Joseph Wilson. Sandy. Sandy? Tosh asked, surprised. Farm boy. Everyone shoots rabbits here. Jimmy explained. Half the islands have a gun, and the other half are phoning me wanting to know what happened to Mima. His desk phone rang. He snatched it up. Paris. Jimmy, it's Vicky at the museum. The voice on the other end said, Vicky, please tell me you have good news. I'm still trying to get an exact carbon date on that skull fragment from the dig, she said, her voice crackling with excitement. But the coins they found in the trench with it return dates between 1465 and 1510. The skull will probably be the same era, 15th century. Right, that's historically interesting. Vicky, but it doesn't give me a motive for a modern murder. Maybe not, Vicky said hesitantly, but there's something else. I was looking through the archives about the Shetland bus. Like you asked, there's a photograph of Mima Wilson when she was young, with a Norwegian sailor. I'll be right there, Jimmy said. Hanging up, he turned to Tosh. You're with me. We're going to the museum. As they were walking out, Sandy came rushing in, looking desperate. Inspector, I thought you were with my dad. He wants to know when my granny's body can be released for the funeral. Jimmy sighed, feeling a pang of sympathy. Well, tell him he's going to have to wait for the pathologist's report from Inverness. They need to extract the pellets and confirm the angle of the shot. I did, Sandy pleaded, but he's taking it really bad. I think having the funeral might help him find some closure. My hands are tied, Sandy, Jimmy said firmly. It's a murder investigation. The body is evidence until the Crown says otherwise. Sandy looked devastated. I want to do something. Jackie's been over, bringing food. But I don't think looking after old Andrew is easy for her, and she's hovering around my dad. It's too much. Jimmy paused, sensing the undercurrents. Sandy, there are two families here, the Wilsons and the Haldanes, related, living on top of one another for generations. One of them wealthy, one of them not. Now, I can't believe that hasn't created any tension, despite what you said yesterday. Sandy looked away, his jaw tight. She's my grandmother. What? Do you think I don't want to know who killed her? I'm not protecting anyone. I'm not accusing you of that. Sandy, just keep your eyes open and stay with your dad. Jimmy walked out, leaving Sandy standing in the middle of the bullpen, looking utterly lost. Chapter 10, Ghosts in the Archive. The Shetland Museum and Archives sat on the waterfront, a beautiful modern building that housed the rugged, bloody history of the islands. Vicky, the head archivist, was waiting for them in a small back room surrounded by boxes of yellowing documents and black and white photographs. You aren't interested in the Shetland bus, Vicky teased Jimmy as he walked in. That's ironic. You weren't when you were at school. I was your teacher. Remember? Jimmy smiled faintly. I was a terrible student. Vicky, what have you got for me? Vicky laid a fragile, silver gelatin photograph on the table under a magnifying lamp. It showed a group of young people laughing outside a stone building. Is that a young Mima Wilson? Jimmy leaned in. It is indeed. She was beautiful. And that's her husband, Jerry Wilson. And next to him is Andrew Haldane, of the generation. So, Mima's husband and Jackie's father worked together. Alongside Norwegian sailors, Vicky explained, pointing to a tall, strikingly handsome blonde man in the photo standing very close to Mima. Between 1940 and 45, they took spies, supplies, and large sums of money across to Norway. Sometimes they'd bring back refugees. To take the Shetland bus became a synonym for escaping the Nazis. Dangerous work, Tosh murmured, looking at the faces. So young, yet their eyes looked old. Incredibly, Vicky nodded. Anyway, not all our lads survived. Some were betrayed by a double agent. Jerry Wilson and Andrew Holdan were lucky to make it back from a botched run in 43. A double agent, Jimmy asked, is detective radar pinging? Yes. People say the Shetlanders discovered who the double agent was. A Norwegian hiding among them. And they meted out their own brutal form of justice. They killed him, Tosh asked. It's just a rumor. A ghost story, Vicky shrugged. But there's no official record of this man. She tapped the blonde man in the photo ever leaving the islands. His name was Perlunsted. Jimmy stared at the photograph. Mima Wilson was looking up at Perlunsted with an expression that was undeniably intimate. Not the look of a friend, the look of a lover. Tosh, will you wait here a minute? Jimmy said softly. Yes, sir. Tosh stepped back, sensing he needed